So I think some of you guys know this already, how the non-dual talks can be, you can say, a bit risky, even dangerous. There was a video. Muji was in Tiru in India, and there was a guy. They took this recording down. This was years ago. People putting their hand up to share. The guy's wife. They had like different people in the in the satsang like putting their hand up because they were like working it. Because whoever he had his people in there putting their hand up, and then when they called on him, they called on his wife. Then she said, "Hold on," and then she went and got the main guy, right? I thought that was cool. So then he came up to him, to Muji. And the guy's pretty sober. He was sober. I mean, he had an agenda, like nobody's perfect, but he wasn't like acting stupid. Like, oh, you're fake guru. No. He said, look, please, can we just have a discourse? There's something bothering me. It's bothering other people too. He says, you keep telling people nothing exists, and I like Muji, by the way. I like everybody, really. Okay. Nothing exists, and you're the pure self, and blah blah blah. He's saying, I talk to people who leave there, like there's a girl in particular. He was saying, and she was she's been in a depression for like the last 6 months. She doesn't leave her house because she's like, there's no reason to, like there's nothing exists. Like leave my house and go where? Nothing exists. And who am I? I don't even exist to leave the house. See? There was another guy that was, he went to the airport after he left one of his Muji satsangs, and he was, everybody's standing in line to wait for the plane, and the guy's going up to everybody saying, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? So this guy was sharing about that, right? And he said, look, Muji, I think it might be beneficial if you talk a little bit about like the human side of things and how it's natural and normal, and like that's not just going to go away, because when you keep focusing only on this nothing exists, God, spiritual side, then people start to think like what's wrong, like something's wrong with me, like because I still feel I'm this human self, but like somebody I respect, my guru, they keep like telling me that don't really exist, And anyway, the discourse between the two of them didn't go too well, and then he had to leave, and that was it. And then they took the video down. But I liked it. There was a certain part of that was true. It was just true, And that's what happens a lot with the non-dual people, the non-dual oaks. They just keep just like it doesn't do any good. How is that going to help you? If I just keep telling you over and over again that nothing exists and that you're just a character and that's just apparent, but really there's no nothing and blah blah blah, how is that that doesn't give realization. There's another part I want to touch on. Hope I remember, but let me finish this. That doesn't, like, you come with all your problems and somebody just tells you like they're not real and you don't exist. There's karma. There's karma in this individual sense of self, and it needs to be allowed to work through. And you don't just dismiss that and sweep it under the carpet or bypass it and think now that you're awake. Just because you can sit and say, you can parrot stuff and say, that this is all a dream and it's all apparent and and that's it. Nothing exists. Just because you can say that don't equal awakening. Actually, if somebody's really awake, you're not going to say that like that. You're not going to say it so much, and you're going to say it's going to be tailor made to who you're talking to, because the wisdom's kicked in. Awakening, the recipe or some of the ingredients, wisdom, you can say some serenity, some sense of calmness, some balance, but very flexible. Like there's ingredients. You don't just become a one-trick pony that just keeps saying the same thing. There's some discernment who you're talking to also, you know. And then, so that starts, all that talking, all this information, the mind takes, and then that fuels the spiritual ego, and that's what says, like, I'm awake. It's okay. Like, life's going to break that at some point. It's okay. But I'm just trying to, I guess this message is, yeah, it's for whoever needs it. I don't know. I don't know who it's for. I know I'm speaking it, so there must be a reason. I don't have a particular agenda. I just, some things come to me to share on. They have some life force behind it. I'm like, okay, I better share on that. Because the spiritual ego loves living in the spiritual realm. It's not like the spiritual ego is not allowed in that realm. It loves that realm. That's where it really likes to live. Because it can twist and turn all this stuff around and use it for its own purpose and power all day long. And it does all day long. It's like the breatharian. Somebody who thinks they're a breatharian say, but they're still eating. And then they justify it and say, well, I don't really have to eat, but I'm just enjoying the taste. Just that's all. I don't have to. Yeah, right. My limited experience with dry fasting, coupled with I did have a good friend, who was an authentic breatharian. He went a couple years with no eating, no drinking. It came very natural and spontaneous to him. And then he started eating again because he missed his primitiveness. He got way too sensitive. That I can relate to. I remember I was doing this in Thailand, and I was sitting on the beach, and I seriously did not know if this was the so-called waking state or dream state. It just, the two were like almost consolidated. I'm like tripping hard on nothing, literally. That sounded funny. So the point of sharing that, though, is, and he talks about this, we had a business situation, and then we didn't really talk anymore. Romantic relationships, business relationships. You'll find out if there's chemistry matching between you. Those are the two qualifiers. And I like it. I like when life weeds out those who which is almost everybody in the end. And then you might have one or two where you're just like, those are your eternal friends. I like eternal friends. The rest, I don't know, they're cool, but, because once you experience your eternal friend, oh man, you're done. Doesn't matter. You just somehow, it's the ultimate, So anyway, he wasn't an eternal friend, at least that hasn't been revealed yet. So, but he was talking about it, and it was true. He knows, he did it. Like, I know him, he did it. He's the transition to go through that stage where the body starts to adapt to not eating and drinking. Man, that's messy. That's messy. I talked to somebody on Skype years ago who was also a breatharian, and he was, the real ones explain that, and you just know, you can just tell when somebody's being real, because you can't fake it. The energy just conveys it. Like, it's no joke, that transition, So those who are just like, yeah, I'm just going to decide I'm spiritual now, I'm not going to eat anymore, okay. Yeah, but I'm going to eat a little bit because I still like it, but I don't have to eat, That kind of justification, that's what happens, that's what the spiritual ego does. And it's super dominant in this Advaita spirituality, non-dual and self-inquiry and all that. Because it's just like the pointing is so, it gives so much room and space for the ego to take that and claim that. It's just so easy. You just say nothing exists. And then the imagination on top of that, imagination is super powerful, can create some kind of pseudo experience. And then that coupled with this, mental non-dual understanding translates into the idea where the ego says, I'm awake now, like I'm done. So be aware of that. Even in those people, though, on subtle level, they can feel something's off. It's unconscious, but there's something there. Like somehow the authentic, pure spirit, being, true self is saying like, you know what? You might need to catch up with what you're saying a little more. That's in there somewhere. I know, because I remember my own previous self going through that stage. It was always kind of there, but I didn't listen to it. It was just like, no, I'm spiritual. And that makes, you know what's even worse is if you have a following of people revering you, then you really don't have to listen to that voice. It's just that's a big trap that I noticed. So just do introspection and see. That's all. Just check. Am I trying to be a little something that really I'm not? Just check. Because who cares? The ego cares. That's the point. The ego has a standard that it wants to project and measure itself and think it's at, and wants others to recognize that. So it doesn't want to introspect into that. It gets offended. It gets insecure. If you're truly solid, like who cares? You've admitted already, you realize this is the human character, non-dual word. You've realized that that's what's speaking and living in this life. So you know that that's imperfect. So you can always find something. You can always find some dirt to clean up or some delusion on some level. You expect that. It's fun. Like, yeah, let's sit and talk about what are the subtle defects that still run, that are still playing in. Let's reveal that. Make it fun. Instead of talking about how great you are, let's talk about how messed up we are. Do that. That's a good spiritual exercise. Do that. All right. Have a good day.